This video is going to show you how to create a forms program in Visual Studio. If you look at Blackboard this week, this is some of the stuff we're going to cover, and this is what we're actually going to cover in this video today. We're going to talk about this GUI, or graphical user interface, that we use in Visual Studio. We're going to use forms, and we're going to use properties of forms, the name and the text. Text boxes, we're going to use properties of name and text for text boxes. And labels, we're going to use properties, names, and text. And buttons, we're going to review the click event, and properties of the buttons will be name and text. Open up Visual Studio. There, okay. I'm going to create a new project. This time be very careful, because rather than a console application, make sure that Windows Forms application is selected. And I'm just going to call this one video, because we're going to do it for our video today. When it opens up, it's going to be a little different from the console. Right there. It opened up a form for us, okay? It opens up a basic default form called Form 1. I usually like to immediately change this to rename FRM, okay, which stands for form, and main, okay. Usually have a main form that when you load up your program, it automatically loads that form. We'll talk later about how you can change that. In our form now, we have some different properties that we can change. If you don't see the Solution Explorer properties, menus, or something like that, go to View, and you can turn these off and turn these on. If you select the form by selecting the form someplace, you notice there's different properties that we can change, okay? If yours doesn't seem to be in the same order as mine does, always make sure that you click this alphabetical icon here, and it will put them in this order. I think it's easier to find things. Notice the name, FRM main. We're going to be naming all of our forms FRM something, okay? And I'll show you why later. We have the FRM main. If we scroll down, you're going to see text down here, okay? And if I click on the word text, I can just start typing. And I'm going to just say something like my main form, or something like that, okay? So we just changed two properties, or at least we looked at them, the name and the text of our form. Now we can add things to our form by going to our toolbox. Once again, if that's not shown, go to View, and I think Toolbox is right there, okay? That will turn it off and on. Talk about that more in class. There's several different ways that you can take and select these. You can take and drag them. I like to just double click on them, okay? In this case, we're going to use a button, so I'm going to double click on button. I'm going to double click on label. And I'm going to double click on text box down here. Once again, you notice here I have common controls selected, okay? If I have all Windows forms selected, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but normally in our class, we're only going to be looking at these common controls for now. You haven't seen the form behind this, okay, but you notice here I actually took and added these, okay, and I can take and slide these around like this. When I slide these around like this, I'm actually changing there's a location down in here property, okay. They talk about graphical user interface. The cool thing about that is that, watch this, when I move this, see how my location changed, okay? A lot of these things can be done just by graphically moving them around. Beautiful thing. Okay, I'm just going to line these up a little bit. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to each one of these objects that we just created. We'll talk about that more in class. And we're going to change the name of each of those. I like to change all the names at the same time because it goes really fast, and I'll show you how. You click on the text box. Click on the word name here. Don't click over here. Just click on the word name right there, and you can just start typing. You always start out with the text boxes with TXT. I'm just going to call this text name because our name's going to be typed in there later on. And then click on label here. Don't click out in here, just click on label. I can type in LBL. Notice how it comes up over there all by itself. LBL name, okay? And our button, we'll just call our BTN button, and we'll just say do it, like that, okay? We just reset all of the names for all these objects, and now we want to do the text. So just slide down to text, click on the word text over here, and then just start typing in, just say do it or something like that. This is just a silly one. Normally you put a little bit better names in them. This label, let's just leave label the way it is. Just not change the name or text to that, and just leave this the same too, okay? Now my goal here is that we're going to be typing in our name here, and it's going to show up in our label right here. We're going to write some code now for the do it button. And to do that, all you have to do is double click on the button itself. It will pop you right up into some code. The default code for a button is to underscore click. Okay, that's the event that's going to happen when I click on that. And when I click on that, it's going to actually take and it's going to run this piece of code in here. What I want to do is take everything that's in the text box and I'm going to put it in the label, okay? So I start with my label, LBL. Notice when you type in LBL, notice all your labels are all going to show up like that. And that's why we put the prefix in front of all of our object names, okay? At this time I can hit tab, it pops it in there for me. It's the text property that I want to look at. So I'm going to type in dot text. There it is right there. Hit tab again. And is equal to. Okay. I'm going to take whatever's in the txt name. There's my text box. Dot text like that. Okay. So I'm going to put the text from my text name into LBL name. Just like that. Beautiful. Now go ahead and run your program. Once again, you can hit F5 or Control F5, either one. It'll pop up that main form, just like that. I got to take and drag mine in here, like that. There's all kinds of stuff we can change in here. I'm going to take and I'm going to just type my name in here for now, and I'm going to click on this button, and you'll notice that the label now changes to Tom because I coded it. I coded that click event. In class, we're going to create more forms that we can actually play with in our programs. To add a form to your program, what you do is you go to Project and Add Window Form right there, okay? At this point, it's going to say, well, what do you want to call it? Let's take and we're going to take create a little program that's going to add some numbers. So let's call it FRM add. Notice once again the prefixes, okay? Add that. It shows up over here. Notice you now have tabs across the top here too that you can switch back and forth between all the things that are open. And of course there's a little X. If you get too many things, you start shutting them down. Okay, let's go to our toolbox. We're going to take and we're going to put in two text boxes. So we're down here, double click on text box, double click it again, and then we're going to have a label in here. So double click on label, and then go to your button. Double click on button like that. Okay. Just like that. Beautiful. Once again, we're going to take and slide them around here. We're going to have a text box one. Well, it doesn't make a difference if they're messed up or not. Our intent in here is we're going to take a number from here, add it to this number, and we're going to put it in this label, okay? First thing we do is we take and we rename all of our objects, okay? Notice I have this top one here selected, this top text box selected. I'm going to go up here and click on the word name again. We'll say txt number 1, like that. Same thing for this one here. txt number 2, I'm going to call that one, okay? Here's my label, LBL total. So I'm going to put the total in there, and BTN, maybe add this time, okay? Just like that. Beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and change the text. I still have my button checked here, okay, or selected. Let's go ahead and change the text by clicking on the word text, okay? And we're just going to put in here add, something like that, okay? Just like that. Good enough. Okay, let's write some code for this again. Double click on add. That will bring up the default button add dot click, okay? And let's take and add those together, okay? Let's create some variables this time. Dim number 1, comma, number 2, comma, and total, like that, as integers. Let's take and associate number 1 with the text box text, okay? Number 1 is equal to, and we got to convert because it's a string right now. Everything in the text box is a string. CINT, we've used that before, okay, in a console window. And TXT. Notice how when you name them all with a prefix, they all show up together, don't they? Isn't that nice? Makes it a whole lot faster. Number 1 dot text, okay, just like that. You have to say number 1 dot text because you can't say, well, this number is equal to this text box. That wouldn't make sense. You have to say the text, okay? Same thing for the second one. Number 2 is equal to CINT, TXT. Notice how they all pop up together. Dot text like that, okay? And total is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Like that, okay? And let's go ahead and stick that in that label, okay? LBL, okay? And we have to say the text, okay? Text is equal to, and total dot to string like that. Beautiful. The only problem is we can't run that right now, can we, okay? We can't run it because it doesn't load. Let's go back to our form main.vb design. That will bring up the actual design of this, okay? And let's go ahead and copy this button and let's paste it in there. Control C, Control V, okay? Get good at those. When we do that, by default, it automatically calls it button 1. Let's call it button BTN show add, like that, okay? And then scroll down. You don't even have to hit enter if you don't want to. Scroll down to the text again, okay? Just type in there add. It's good enough for now. This button, what we want this button to do is take and load this other form, okay? If you double click on add, it'll bring up that default button show, or add show add, I'm sorry, dot click, okay? And let's go ahead and show that other form. FRM. Once again, see how important those 3-letter acronyms are? Form add dot show dialog, we're going to say. Don't worry about what it means, just do it for now. We'll talk about that more in class. Now when we run the program, there it is right there. Okay. Come on, I got to try dragging in here. Here we go. Now I can do this. I put my name here. That still works yet, doesn't it, by hitting this button. When I hit this button, what happens is, right over there, oh, come on. Okay, I can take and put numbers in. Now be careful you type in numbers, because if you type in letters, you'll crash, okay? Just like that. Notice how I can't go back to this one here. I get an error, okay, it makes all kinds of sounds. I have to close this, okay? That's what that show dialog does. And that's the way we're going to be doing most things in class for now. Go ahead and close that, and now we can take and we can close this one here. And that's the end of the video.